Hello, Miss.
Yes, girls, hello.
Michelle,
So,
we'll
as we,
continue vocabulary.
what?
We will continue vocabulary.
We finished vocabulary dear. We'll take now the
No,
introduction.
solving in the book.
No, in the first period, we just take the passage. Okay?
Yeah.
And now we'll take introduction to SAT. Okay. Okay, guys. Many of you have started taking SAT. You see my PowerPoint, girls?
Yes.
Many of you have started taking SAT. I don't, and of course you have taken private lessons in this, but I also consider introduction is very important. Although that we start solving, but there are some tips that we have to learn. So just for those who started and they have already taken SAT, and just take this as a revision for you, okay? And then next time we'll start solving, inshallah. Today I'll say it quickly. You know, the SAT test has 4 sections: reading, writing, language, and then the math. Okay, reading, writing, and language, these are 2. Reading alone, writing a language 2, then math no calculator and math calculator. The test timing, it takes, if you will write an essay, okay, in that case you have 5th test section. If you will not write the essay, so you have only 4 sections. The total time for the score portion of the SAT is 3 hours. Okay, the girls, am I recording or I forgot?
No. I guess yes. Teacher, can I ask
Yes,
a
ma'am.
question?
Yes.
How can I know if I need the essay test in the college or no?
Up to your college, dear. And by the way, many. Wait a minute. Yeah. Yes, I'm recording. Many colleges require, after you finish the SAT, they require a specific writing test for them. They
Yes, miss, because I
specifically
don't
require.
know to make it or no, and to change it before the test.
Yes, but it's up to your college, the college that you want to join.
Okay.
Okay, so the portion of the SATs is 3 hours, okay, or 3 and 50 if you are going to write the optional SAT. The math, okay, and then the reading and writing and language. We will talk only about the English. The reading test has 65 minutes for 52 questions. It means that per question, how many minutes, girls? Grade 11.
Yeah, miss.
Yes.
Am I giving this lecture to myself? Where are you?
I'm here.
Miss, I'm here.
Only Maya replies me.
But I'm talking.
No.
Yeah, okay. 65 minutes per 52 questions. It means that for each question, where is Serena and Lean? Nirvana, Nancy. You take SAT,
Yes,
right?
I'm here.
And
Yes.
Serene and Lean,
Yes, miss.
Nancy,
No,
Nirvana.
Serena and Lynn don't take that.
No, participate with me. When I say something, reply.
Okay.
Okay. So 65 minutes for 52 questions. It means that for each question we have 1 minute. Only 1 minute. And then we will have like 12 more minutes. If we separate them, it means that each passage will take 2 minutes of you reading. So
Yes,
you read the
teacher.
passage. Yes.
Not necessarily 1 minute for each question because some questions take less than a minute.
Of course, but we are taking it approximately, as we can say. Okay? In order to organize your time, yani you don't spend more than 1 minute in a question. Try as much as you can. Okay? And then the writing and language, 35 minutes for 44 questions. Okay? Which is less than 1 minute. Then, here.
This language test is the essay.
Language is the grammar. Writing and language is the grammar.
Yeah.
Here, the reading test, The reading test is the first section. As we said, 52 questions and time limit of 65 minutes. All the questions are multiple choice questions and based on reading passages like the literature girls. You may find tables or graphs or charts that accompany some passages. With some passages, they will not ask you about math, but they use these graphs to add extra information to the passage. Okay, you'll take 5 passages. The 5 passages in the reading section, okay? For each one of them, from 10 to 11 questions per passage. And there will be something called passage pair. We will understand now. In the SAT reading passages, they bring for you passages from 3 main fields: history, social studies, and science. History, social studies, and science. So each SAT reading test always include one passage from US or world literature, US literature, okay? And world literature like Greek literature, Roman literature, Arabic literature, and one passage from either a US founding documents like the Emancipation Proclamation, like the 13th Amendment, or any related text, and one passage about economics, okay? Or psychology or sociology or another social science, and 2 science passages. He will not ask you scientific questions because the answers are in the passage, but the topic will be about that: science, social, English literature, English history. Answer to all the questions are based only, yes, it means here you will not get any answers out of your mind, out of the passage, sorry. No, all the answers are inside the passage. They may be stated or implied. Stated, it means that they are written directly, or implied, it means you have to make inferences to get them out of the passage or passage pair. This is how we receive the first page of the reading test. 60 reading test, 65 minutes, 52 questions, okay, and then you start to answer. The types of SAT reading passages, as we said, you'll get 1 passage from US or world literature, 2 will be from history or social studies, and 2 from science. Each passage or paired passages will have about 500 to 750 words. This is something called paired passages. What is paired passages? Paired passages, you know, when you studied the literature and we studied the test for chapter 3, these were paired passages. And then when you took the quiz of the literature, there was a question: what was the theme of the 2 passages? Remember, Inman and the woman in the story, and the theme that they were both of them, or the 3 traits that both of them were, they had courage, and so the paired passages are used to compare or contrast the passages and contrast the author's ways in delivering the messages. So both of the passages might have the same theme, or might contradict the theme, or oppose the theme, or complete the idea. So this is how he asks you about the paired passages. He asks you, is the second author opposes the first author, or the second author agrees with the first author? What is the main theme between the 2 passages? Okay, so the 2 passages about the same topic mainly. Okay, what is the author's point of view? Maybe the first one is written in first point of view, a narrative, but the second one will be a third point of view, omniscient. So they often discuss the same topic or theme, but approach it from a different ways or different perspectives. Questions that go with paired passages will often ask you to compare or contrast, or to consider what one author would think about the other author's point of view. Okay, like this: which choice best describes the relationship between the 2 passages? Passage 2 related first to passage 1 hand experience contrast, or conclusion drawn from, criticize it, or takes a high level viewpoint, like this. On which of the following points would be the authors of both passages most likely agree or oppose? And then we finished now type of passages. We took the types of passages: U.S. history, U.S. Social, world literature, Greek literature, U.S. literature. Then the types of questions in the reading. Okay? You'll have a question about the big picture, the main point and the big picture. So the big picture questions ask you about the overall purpose, the theme of this passage, the message of the passage, the overall purpose. Girls, when you want to decide the message or the theme or the main idea of a passage, where do you find it? Where do you find it, girls?
In the conclusion.
In the conclusion, and in what else?
Introduction.
In the introduction.
Sentences.
Yes, the main theme is written in the introduction and repeated in the final conclusion, but in different words. So when he asks you about the big picture or a main point, you have to read the introduction and the conclusion. Listen, guys, there is a trick. The SAT advisors said that this is a good way to solve the SAT. He says to you, don't read the whole passage and then go to the questions. No. You read what? You read the blurb. This is the part of the beginning of the essay, of the excerpt, or in the passage, it's going blurb. You read this, you read the introduction and the conclusion. The introduction.
It depends on each student, your teacher.
Yes, it depends on each student. But they advised you to do so. From my experiences in teaching SAT, there are girls who prefer to read the passage and then go to the questions. It depends on the way you can read and analyze. If you are a focused reader, it means that when you read, you can analyze. So read and then go solve. If you are not, if you need to focus on the question to understand what does it want, and then you go to the passage. So this is a way in order to solve the SAT. You read the blurb, okay? So you know what are you going to talk about. Then in order to get to know the main theme, you find it in the introduction and it will be repeated in different words in the conclusion. So this is how to answer question. First the question, the main idea or the main theme. If you couldn't solve the main theme, solve like more 2 questions and then go to the first question. You will get to know more. Why? Because in the second and third questions, he will ask you to read more lines. So when you read more lines, you get to know more. So here the first question is, as we said, big picture on the main point. The purpose or message of the passage. What is the passage about? What is trying to accomplish? Is it trying to inform you, review, or contradict, or prove, or parody, or hypothesis? What's the point? And anyway, okay? Then from the big picture, he takes you to the detail or little picture detail. These questions will usually refer to a specific line or 2 lines with the passage. He says to you, he asks you a question and he writes for you the lines between parentheses and he says to you, you can check the answer in these lines. So you'll go back and you read from line, for example, from line 5 to, I read the introduction from 1 to 5, from 5 to 10. And then he says to me, you have a question from 15 to 20. So I read from 15 to 20. When he says to me lines, I go, for example, he says, asks me a question, and he writes to me the lines from 15 to 20. I start to read from 10 to 22 or 23 to get more understanding. By the end of the questions, I would have finished the passage. So here, every 5 lines, as we said, is numbered, so I can be able to locate it quickly and understand quickly and get the answer quickly. So they might relate to function or author's technique, okay? But they tend to refer to a particular line or phrase, as we said. Author's technique, girls, where do you find it? In literature. That's why I told you, especially this year, is so related to SAT. Then a third kind of questions is inference. It means it's not stated directly. The answer of the question is not stated. I have to imply it from the text. I have to think of it. So these questions ask you to interpret the meaning of a line, paragraph, or the whole passage. This will not be too subjective or ambiguous, as there can only be one correct answer. Okay? Then the vocabulary in context. And as we took now the vocabulary, I told you guys, vocabulary is not to open a dictionary and memorize the words. Vocabulary depends on the skill of how to analyze the meaning of a word through a context. How can you try to remember if you have heard it somewhere? It is to learn the skill of finding the meaning of an unfamiliar word. Maybe you divide it into prefix and suffix and get the root word. Maybe you get to know the meaning of the root word. So vocabulary in context, vocabulary questions ask you about the meaning of a specific word. And sometimes he brings for you the 4 multiple choices, the same meaning. And 4 of them are correct, but only one matches the context. Only one matches the conflict.
So here I have a question.
Yes.
Miss, do you take the if you already know the word, okay? Do you take the meaning of the word literally, or do you take the one that best matches with the passage?
Matches
one.
with the passage, because he brings for you, in the Sad, especially in the Sad, he brings for you the 4 meaning words, at least the 3 of them the same meaning, but there is only one obvious that it is the meaning in the context.
Just like yesterday's question.
Yes.
Attended. There was two right
Yes,
meanings.
there were 2 right meanings. Yes, but which one was the best?
Pay attention to in the passage itself.
Yes, but they might be, because attended means to attend in a place, and it means many things, but here is to pay attention to. Might be being used in an unusual way within the context of the passage, like detailed questions. Vocabulary in context question will refer you to a specific line also. So you go back and he says to you, the word this in the line this means what? And 5 kind of question. The 5th kind of question is the function. Function questions. What is function questions? They are similar to detailed questions. He asks you about a phrase or a sentence works within the passage. They want to know what effect a detail has on this passage. So he says to you, when the author writes this sentence, what does he mean when he uses this sentence? Okay. Then author's technique. And author's technique, this is what we study at the beginning of each chapter in literature, guys. Author's tone, author's style, author's voice, attitude, perspective. So in addition to reading the text closely, you also want to think about how the author wrote. How did he write? That's why we take it in literature again, girls. So Sad and literature are so connected. You'll typically get asked to compare author techniques in questions that follow paired passages. As we said, they tend to show up after single passages as well. Okay, why? What was the tone? How did he use the sentences to give the tone? The sentence held the tone or not? If the passage consists of prose, as in a passage from US or world literature, then these questions will ask about the narrator's style, purpose, or technique. Evidence support. Evidence support questions do not stand on their own. No, they refer back to any of the previous questions types and ask you to provide evidence for your answer. Like yesterday when we said what was common between Inman and the woman, we said courage, and then the following question was, why you say courage? What is your evidence that both of them had courage? So then he brings for you lines, and then you pick which line supports your answer, not the question, your answer. Let's say your answer an inference question, then you might get an evidence supported question that asks you which lines within the passage provided the reason behind your answer. These evidence support questions are common throughout the reading section. I had a girl, we used to solve Sad together and she always said to me, teacher, I hate it when I get the answer by luck and then and then the following question is, how did you know it? So he always in the Sad does this. He asks you a question and then he says to you, how did you know? Okay, as a proof. Are you with me?
Yes.
Yes.
So big picture, which is the main point, detail, inference, vocabulary, function, author technique, evidence support, data interpretation. That's when we take a graph or a chart and he asks me to interpret the information presented. You say that it sells higher or is there any increasement in the production? Or data interpretation questions asks how the graphic relates to the passage. That's it, guys. These are the 8 kinds of questions. So we took the kinds of passages and now the kinds of questions. Finished? This is how you see the questions. Like over the course of the passage, the main focus. So the main idea shifts from what to what? General discussion of the narrator's love of reading to a portrayal of an influential incident, or what? The main purpose of lines. So here, look, he says for you lines from 1 to 10. So you go and read from 1 to 10. Okay? With which of the following statements about the father would the narrator most likely agree? So the narrator's opinion. Which choice provide the best evidence for the answer to the previous question? Why you picked any of these? Why? It can reasonably be inferred, making an inference. It means that you will not find it written stated. You will imply it from the text. Inferred from the passage that the main reason for that the narrator considers the great expectations to be the best gift he never received is because, okay, which great expectation? Yes.
Some students solve the evidence questions first.
This.
The evidence questions, then the question before it.
Yeah. Okay, it happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you what. SAT depends on practicing, girls. Practice. The more you solve, the more you get better mark. You don't have a book to study and then you go to solve SAT. The more you solve SAT, the more you get marks. That's the trick. You have to understand what is the SAT about and then start solving. That's it. Because they have the same outline, the same ideas, the same tricks. Okay? So you have to solve.
Teacher, you know, some students they answer the first question with the second answer. So, for example, if I don't know the actual question, I will answer it with the second question, the part of the essay.
Yes.
Teacher,
yes.
there's a teacher once told me we should first, for saving time, read the questions, then divide them into divide the choices into keywords, and then we should read all the questions and then read the passage and then answer the questions. To highlight
if you are
main
not a
ideas.
fast reader, if you're not a fast reader, you will not have time. This trick of highlighting the words works effectively when you are searching for an answer. You have to highlight some keywords, and then this will get. We will meet it.
Miss, I'm stuck at this point. Do you advise on reading the whole passage and then solving? Or should I just read the questions and solve?
This is how the SAT advisor said you have to solve. But I cannot, I say to you, that you solve this way. It's up to you. Maybe you are a fast reader. You can read quickly and then you can give the answer. Maybe if you are a slow reader, no, I don't advise you to do this. Because you waste
honestly, when I use this,
because at the same time, the passage they provide a lot of details, unnecessary details.
Yes.
That may take up a lot of your time.
When you practice more, you know which details you drop and which details are important. It depends on you. SAT 100% depends on the person. And the teacher doesn't do anything. She just gives you tricks and tips, and as you want. Maybe my trick doesn't fit you. Maybe another trick fits you. How would you know from solving?
Yes, Miss. This teacher told me no, read the questions first, then read the passage and solve. I tried her way, Miss. I swear to God, like 2 questions only correct. But when I read the passage and then I solve the questions, I got all of them correct.
Great.
So I told her this trick, it doesn't fit me.
Yes.
Fits me.
Yes,
So
but
that's why.
maybe it fits another one.
Miss?
Excellent, Yamaya. Now you get my idea. Yes, dear.
Miss,
Hmm.
in practice exams before the actual SAT, when I solve the English part, I get all my questions almost in the reading comprehension correct. But when I'm doing it in the actual exam, it gets so confusing for me. I don't know why.
Maybe you, who's talking?
Nancy.
Nancy, maybe, Nancy, you get confused before a test. Maybe the idea that you are having a real test annoys you.
No,
So it
it's
doesn't.
not. I was so calm when I was solving the exam. Like I didn't mind it. I don't really get nervous for exams.
So what?
But
Yes. So what happens?
I don't know. It's just harder the way they write.
Did you take any
passages they
extra
write.
time
Where?
while solving at home?
No,
يعني?
I solved it exactly 65 minutes.
Wow.
Maybe you should try practicing on paper.
I don't know.
But yeah, I try to practice a lot so I don't like repeat the same mistakes in the actual exam next time.
Yes. It depends on practicing. This is the only thing I can say to you, that the more you solve, the more you get to know. And you know what, girls, in my previous school, we used to give SAT since grade 6. So my students in grade 9, my previous school was only till grade 9. My students in grade 9 was solving the SAT test you solve today. So that's why I always recommend is that you start studying or solving SAT tests before. يعني in grade 9 you start.
That's the thing. We became aware of the SAT thing, and like grade 10, grade 9.
That's it.
Even in grade 9, we weren't as aware of the SAT
Yes,
and its
I tell you
importance.
what, because in Egypt, because my previous school, all of them were Egyptian. In Egypt, you should have a you must, not should, you must. It's not obligatory. يعني there is no other way to join college. If you're not with the
Sure, SAT in Egypt is so extra. Like they want SAT 1, SAT 2, like a lot.
That's why. Yes, that's why we have to start it from a younger age. Okay, so because
Starting
they
from grade
require
10 is
everything.
fine.
Well, I started with my son in grade 9. He takes math now because I
Even
think
the
that
time
math.
is not precise.
I think that math is يعني deeper than the English. And writing section in English is so easy, girls. I like writing section. The only
Yes.
problem in SAT test is the reading section. You
Miss,
agree?
the time in the SAT is not precise. يعني مثلا if the teacher was kind, she might give you 1 minute more. If the teacher was
It is
strict, she
so
would say for
precise,
you,
Marta.
like, put the pen down. Like
Yes.
it depends on the teacher that is standing on you.
Yes.
Like 1 minute ما هتفرق بس it is so precise. أصلا the
Yes.
whole break is 10 minutes.
Yes. I know it's many.
Another problem I want to ask. Miss, there are 5 passages, right?
Yes.
Miss, the thing that happens with me is that I solve the first 3 passages clearly. I understand everything. And then the last 2, my brain just stops comprehending words.
It happens.
I would stop.
It happens.
It's the same thing with my biology SAT. At the beginning, I was solving so fast, then my mind was like lost.
Yes, of course it happens. Especially when you have a 3 hours exam, you feel like you are completely worn out. You cannot think more than that.
I know, but Miss, the reading test is at the beginning. Imagine doing 3 passages and then your brain shuts off. You can barely comprehend
But
it.
basically, the last 2 passages and the reading passages are easier than the first, right? Or it gets
No.
harder?
No, they're usually
It gets
hard.
harder, huh?
It
I
gets
don't
harder,
remember.
yes.
Yeah.
It gets harder. I remember. It gets harder. والله
So maybe
You can
I
solve the
should have
hardest
solved
to
solved
the
it the last Yeah.
Sometimes I
No,
used to solve the last passage first and then go from last to first.
Yes, exactly. You can start with the hardest to the easiest.
Start with the hardest, yes. Yes, now I remember. Okay, let me tell you how to study for SAT reading. The reading section. Speed up your reading. So with 5 passages and 52 questions is only 65 minutes. The reading section of the SAT asks you to cover a lot of ground and maintain focus for over an hour. Since you get the reading section in one big chunk, you are responsible for balancing your time among 5 passages. So you'll have to read deeply yet efficiently. Yani you don't just read, no, you read and analyze in the same time and find that balance between working fast while still catching important details. And how does you achieve this? By practicing. Rather than trying to catch each and every word, as we said, there are not irrelevant details, yani more than needed details. For instance, you might pay most attention to the introduction, conclusion, transitions. These are the words you highlight, the transitions between paragraphs, and then you skim the rest. Keywords, if you find keywords. Other students find it helps them to read the question first so they know what to look for. So here, even this, because these girls, this what I wrote for you here, I wrote from the official site, SAT site. So this is what SAT advisors say to you. So other students prefer to read the questions first. Okay, search for evidence. SAT is meant to test you on your skill, not knowledge. Your skill, how did you learn to do this? And those skills are taught in English only, girls. That's why I keep saying for you, literature is very important, vocabulary is very important, and of course, the grammar for the writing section and punctuation for the writing section. It has lots of punctuation questions. You don't have to know anything about the topic before answering questions on it. So if there is a topic about DNA and you do not know what is in DNA, but you have just a background, so you'll work on. In fact, having pre-existing knowledge could even get in your way. Rather than asking you to recall facts and figures, the reading questions are entirely based on the passage. As such, your answer should be based directly on the words in front of you. Do not go anywhere. When you choose your answers, make sure that you can point to a specific line as evidence that your answer is the right one. The new evidence-based questions on SAT are, in some sense, a blessing in disguise. It's a blessing in disguise. They serve as useful reminder that all of your answers should be based on the words in front of you. You'll not get the answer from outside. It's called evidence-supported questions. That's why in literature we highlight words and we take the first read, second read, and third read. The three reads are related to SAT. How to get the answer from the passage. Okay, explicitly ask you to provide the lines that served as the basis of your answers to previous questions. Even if reading a question is not followed by one of these evidence support items, it's a good idea to do the same sort of mental check. Ask yourself, what am I basing my answer off of? If you think you are answering based on anything other than the words in the passage in front of you, then you might want to double check your thinking. So you have to find the words from the passage, not from your mind, from outside. Okay, so search for evidence. Use process of elimination. Process of elimination succeeds. It means that when you get 4 answers, eliminate 2. While some questions will be easier than others, most have at least one answer that's obviously wrong. 2 obviously wrong answers. Using process of elimination to zero in on the most reasonable answers can be a helpful strategy in the reading section, especially in the situation where you feel unsure. While some questions may feel subjective because they ask you to make an inference. Subjective means related to you. When you want to make an inference or evaluate an opinion, they will always only ever have one 100% correct answer. All of the other answer choices, even if they seem reasonable upon first read, will be problematic in some way. If the right answer doesn't pop out to you right away, try to use process of elimination to look for these errors in logic. It should help you narrow down your by at least 2. If you really have no idea or are spending too much time on an answer, at that point you could at least make an educated guess. So if you eliminate it and yet you cannot get the answer, you have to guess it. Okay?
Miss, this is difficult to do in just 1 minute. And you have to see which is the right answer. If you
Yes,
can't find it, you have to
practice.
eliminate too much.
Practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfection. The more you practice, the more you know how to do it quickly. So yes, it only depends on practicing. So I don't know the answer, I eliminate 2 and then I guess one of them. Step. You will not lose any points. Some people used to say that if you make a mistake and then you made some, the mistake will take one correct question. No, it is thrice only scoring, means that you will not lose any points with the wrong answer. So you have a better choice of upping your score than you would if you left it blank. Don't leave any question blank. Narrow your choices and then pick one of them. Maybe you have 50% that it is
Teacher,
correct.
Students actually used to get penalized in the old SAT.
Old SAT?
Yes.
What happens?
Like if you make a guess, they used to get penalized.
Yes, but in the new SAT, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So actually, the new SAT is somehow
it's easier.
Easier, yeah. Somehow it's easier. All SAT, but all SAT's ideas were repeated. Anyway, but this is more like the literature new. Like the literature book you have, it's a new version of thinking, new way of thinking. Then study multiple meaning words. So find words in context questions. After every passage in the reading section, these questions ask you to define or give a synonym or a word from the passage. The catch, you have to understand how the word is being used in a specific line. All of the answer choices might be reasonable synonyms for the word under consideration. You need to understand the connotation of the word in its particular context. What is connotation and what is denotation? Denotation, DD dictionary. Denotation dictionary. Connotation is what the word brings in your mind. As we said before, school brings to me sandwiches, friends, mathematics, biology, English. These are the connotation come with the word. You will not encounter particularly obscure or high-level vocabulary terms. Maybe it's a very easy word, by the way. Okay? And instead, the words will be relatively common, but they will likely have different meanings in different contexts. You can prepare for these questions by studying relevant vocabulary lists. A word and its relevant vocabulary. Words that come or match. Okay? And sharpening your ability to divide the meaning of a word based on the context clue. So this how to sharpen your ability, vocabulary periods. Brush up on literary terms. While you will not encounter a ton of high-level literary terminology, again, the reading section is meant to test skills, not knowledge. Skills or memorization. That's why I say to you in literature, never memorize anything. You should be familiar with the basics. Review key terms like style, tone, attitude, and theme. Even more important, make sure you understand how to describe those parts of a work of prose or nonfiction. To answer these types of questions, you'll need to be able to pick up on the theme, central argument, or oval or tone of a piece of writing. I don't think we just have 2 more slides. We'll save them next time, girls, when we start solving. Okay? Go now for your break. Yes, dear.
Can you make an online assignment or in the exam and put a specific time for each question? We solve it alone, but then after we finish solving, we solve it together.
Sad?
Yeah, and it will help.
Yes, I guess this is a nice idea.
And it's better than
want
us to
y-
get together
you
because it
you,
take a lot
you
of time.
want an online assignment. The
Yeah,
two
but
students.
you put it when period starts, so we
But
solve it and then we solve it together.
But I listen dear, in order to يعني that I spent 3 hours preparing your exam on Classera in order to enter each question and enter each choice alone, I take 3 hours. I talk to your friend.
Every
Teacher,
yeah.
upload the whole passage.
I can
for
upload
us.
the whole passage for you and then yes, okay. I'll do this inshallah. Okay?
Okay.
Yalla guys, see you. Have a
Miss, I
nice
have a
weekend.
question.
Yes.
Fine.
Miss, in tests, I want to read fast, but whenever I read fast, I read words wrong, and I need a lot of time to read if I don't want to read anything wrong. What should I do?
You start solving, Hisham? Sad?
No, I mean like in any test in general.
I have a suggestion.
Yes.
What?
You could read like not saturated stuff, like read stuff like novels, articles, you know. It will help you improve يعني how fast you read.
Yeah, maybe. I will try that.
Okay.
Yeah. See you guys. Bye. Bye, Sham.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Bye, Mary.